Hi, Mr. Pratt. My name is Ruhi.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you for taking your time to meet with me today. In RLA, we are working on our speaking and listening skills in our journalism unit,
Okay.
and I've recently researched the topic of technology and specifically the angle of the one-to-one computer program. In order to be assessed by my teacher, I have to record our conversation as Miss Tousley gives me feedback on how I ask questions and build a conversation with you. Can I have your permission to share this interview publicly? I'll be posting it on my blog with a link to the audio.
Yes, of course. I'd be happy for you too.
So, some questions that I have are: how do you think the students will benefit from the one-to-one program?
Well, I think first of all, there's a couple of things. I think the first one is the one-to-one laptop program puts professional tools in the hands of students. Okay, so this is a tool like we're using here that as a professional I use, I'm sure your parents use it and as professionals. And so it gives an opportunity for you as a young person still learning to get a sense of how to use the tool, the value of the tool, and also to have a chance to find out those parts of the tool that we want to be careful of, like making sure you continue to have balance, and that you're not always on the computer, and that sort of thing. Secondly, and I think probably this is the more important part. When I was growing up, if I wanted to do research on something, I had to go to the library. I had to go to a place to research and try to get information. Whereas for you, if you want to research something, you just get on this computer and you have access to unlimited information. So it's really important that from a young age, we start to teach students where to find information, how to validate that information and make sure that it's accurate and it's good information, and then also how to use that information to leverage and to leverage it for new ideas. But also the other thing this offers, in addition to that, the kind of information piece, is the whole collaboration piece. That you're able to collaborate with other people, you're able to share ideas and create ideas and generate new thinking. So, and I think it's important, and it's important that you learn how to do that. So as you go into your future, you have some skills with that.
What is the feedback received from parents about the one-to-one program?
We have done some feedback, and overall, it's positive. We do have some parents that are concerned about it and they come to see me usually individually, or sometimes they share maybe with their out in the community. I they also, when they come and see me, what I do is I find that very helpful because it gives me a chance to see what are some concerns with in the community with parents who are dealing day to day with their own kids at home, especially. It's a little bit easier for us to keep control. I think in some ways it's easier to keep control. Well, mostly to educate, because we don't really try to keep control. We want to educate. We want kids to have the tool, and we want to educate them as they go. But that can be kind of difficult at home for parents. So the feedback's been overall positive. I ran a parent coffee. This is about 3 years ago, so it was before we actually had the laptops. And I was amazed. I was all ready to talk about at the parent coffee. We were presenting our idea to have a one-to-one laptop program. And I was myself and the current director of technology at the time, not Mr. Green. It was the guy before Mr. Green. We were in front of the faculty. The parents. We had planned this whole presentation to try to argue why we thought it was a good idea. And the first parent that raised her hand in the question and answer session, her question was, "My only question is, why haven't you already done this? This should have been done a long time ago." And I was a little bit surprised because what ended up happening is a lot of parents said the same thing. Like, why don't we already have kids with this? We believe our kids should already have this. I've had a number of parents that have come here from other schools and were surprised we didn't have a one-to-one program because some of their kids came into 7th or 8th grade and left a school that had a one-to-one laptop program and came here and didn't have it. And then they felt like the kids really felt like they were missing something, that it was harder for them to get access to information and things like that.
Yeah, because I remember when I was in fifth grade, we had to go to the computer thing and
A lab.
A lab to do all our research. And it was
See, Ruhi, that's a great point, because think about this. Also, you might find this interesting. Before we went to the one-to-one program, we polled kids to find out how many kids had one of these, a smartphone,
Yeah.
right? So 85% of our kids already had access to this. So which means if they have access to this, they have access to the whole internet.
Yeah.
Right, with a smartphone. So for us to add a computer, it just means it's more of a creative tool, because you can create more with a computer than you can with a phone. So already our kids already had access to lots of that information and stuff. So that wasn't such a big surprise or problem, right? So.
Do you think that student achievements have drastically improved?
Before we went down the process of having the one-to-one program, we did a lot of research. And the reality is, in a high-performing school like Singapore American School, where kids already perform very high, bringing in a one-to-one laptop program is not necessarily going to raise achievement. In fact, it most likely won't raise achievement. Okay, achievement is already really high. In some schools where achievement is lower, like lower socioeconomic schools and things like that, this will make a bigger impact. The computer will make a bigger impact. But when I read that research and kind of looked at the fact that, okay, well, it's not going to make a huge academic bump in achievement for kids. So the question was then, well, do we still have a responsibility to our students to make sure that they have access to this computer? And the answer was yes, for the reasons I described previously, which is you have to learn how to use this tool, because it's a tool. Maybe it won't look just like this in your future. Maybe it'll be something different. But you need to start gaining the skills that are so that you're ready for whatever changes come as your future starts to unfold.
How do you think the parents should control the usage of computers?
Well, I think it's really important that it be educational. The word control. That's why I stopped myself earlier when I used the word control. I actually think control may be the wrong philosophy, right? Because if we try to control it, the reality is what we're trying to do is prepare you and all of your siblings and all your friends to be independent. Like, that's the whole goal of education, of parenting, of everything, is to try to get you to be to a point where you're independent, right? So that you can lead your life and that sort of thing. So I think the philosophy is about teaching and making you and or other students a part of the solutions if there's a problem. So let's just take one problem. Too much screen time, or parents are concerned about you being, right? Then what I think parents should do is sit down with you and say, okay, Ruhi, let's talk about it. How long tonight? How long are you on the computer? And there's some software programs that can help manage this, right? They can actually see how long you were on Facebook, how long you're on this computer, how long you're different applications. And then you could sit down with your parents and say, well, this is how long I am. They can ask you questions like, were you using your time effectively? And if you're honest and go, no, I mean, I got distracted and I did this for a while and I really should have been doing this, or that sort of thing. Then their questions to you should be, well, what are you gonna do about it? How are you gonna make it so that you use your time more efficiently? And then you would be the one that would start to seek the solutions and the answers to those questions. Like, okay, how can I use my time more effectively on the computer? And then the other thing that I have had some parents do, and I think this is a good idea, rather than try to control this, I think there's some things on this we want to control, because there's things we want kids to avoid. That's when we have filtering systems and things like that, right? So, but rather than control what happens with this, what parents can do is they can say, for instance, a parent could say, you know what, Ruhi, I'm worried about how much time you're spending on the computer, so this is what I'm going to ask. Before you get on to do your homework tonight, I need you to do something without technology for an hour. Go do whatever you want to do. You go out and play with your friends, go see a friend and have a conversation with them. go do something athletic or sporty or whatever the case may be, but you have to do something that has nothing to do with technology. And then when you come in, I'll let you do what you need to do to get your homework done or whatever. Does that make sense?
Do you think that there are any drawbacks to the one-to-one program?
Well, I think, one, I worry about outside of school. Outside of school, I worry about that students may be um, that maybe they're spending a little bit too much time on this. But I only say that if depending on what they're doing, right? If that means that they're not out playing when they should be out playing or seeing friends or doing something like that, then I'm concerned. If they're doing something productive with it, then I'm a little bit less concerned. But I still think that the balance of physical activity and social interaction are very important. We want to make sure that we have those. So those are some drawbacks, But I do think it's interesting that Mr. Green, we did a parent coffee about 3-4 weeks ago, and Mr. Green, for his presentation that he did for the parents, he took, I think, 10 or 15 minutes, and he just grabbed his smartphone, and he went around, and any classroom he saw, he went in and took a picture of what they were doing, right? So he had this one slide that had all of these different classrooms, pictures of all these different classrooms, and I think only 2 or 3 of them even had their laptops open. Every other one wasn't using laptops. They were having collaborative work. They were in a lab in science. And their laptops weren't even open. So the point is that at school, at least from our perspective, not just there. I do that also, not just that one snapshot, but that we're pretty balanced. We're pretty balanced in the use of the laptops.
Why did you and the other principals decide to give 6th graders access to laptops?
Well, before we did that, we spent lots of time doing research and talking to lots of schools, right? And by the time we implemented our laptop program, there had been other schools, like the American School of Bombay. The American School of Bombay has had a one-to-one laptop program for 6th grade for more than 10 years, probably 12 years. So they've had that 12 years. So when we did this, which was last year, was the first year we did it, they had already been doing it for 11 years, okay? So, and lots of other schools had done it as well. So we went and talked to lots of those schools, and we used a lot of those schools as models for what we needed to do it well and make sure that we were careful about how we did it. Personally, my daughter, when we first moved to the American School of Bombay, she was in 6th grade, she got a laptop. And I look at her now, she's 20 now, she's in college, and I look at her now, and I'm glad that she had that experience, because by the time she left here, I wanted her to be independent. I wanted her to have, because I won't be with her every day, and I can't help her, and I can't, like I can when she lived with me. And when I look at how she is able to use the computer to help her solve problems and look up things and create things, she's gone into one of her. She's in communications, and one of her internships was helping a non-government organization that worked with low socioeconomic kids do their social media, and she's just been brilliant at it because she's had access to this and she knows how to do it, and so she's able to really help them with their media, because a lot of the people that she's working with are older adults like me that didn't grow up with this, right? So that's one reason why we did it. Because we felt like it. We felt like that it helps. We felt like it was our responsibility to make sure that kids had access and learned how to use it.
Thank you for your time and for giving me a clear view of this issue. I'll be happy to send you a link to my blog once I've posted the interview there as a transcript with an audio link.
I'd appreciate that. That would be great. I'd love to see your link. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Rudy.